pheasant tail nymph. Step 1.
For this fly, we're going to use a standard number 12 nymph hook, and we've slid a bronze bead or brass bead over top to match the size of the hook that we're going to use. And just some standard 6/0 tying thread, or gray or tan. It's not really that necessary.
Step 2.
Now we're going to take a pheasant tail, a ringneck pheasant tail, and take a few fibers off one side of the feather. You can see this is one of the center feathers because it has matching sides to it. You want to use those redder feathers for this. You don't want the tail too thick, and have it about the length of the hook shank. It's important to keep and wrap the whole body with the feather before to add to the tail, and that way it keeps the body nice and consistent for this fly because it's going to be quite thin as it is.
Step 3.
And we're going to tie in some small or fine copper wire.
Step 4.
And again, we're back to the pheasant tail, and I'd like to use the center feathers for these because they have a little bit longer fibers, seeing as we're going to be using it to wrap the body. And take probably 15 to 20 fibers, somewhere in there. Probably closer to 15 for this size of hook. We're going to tie them in right by the tip. Not right at the tip, but a little ways from it. Just that way it adds to a bit of the strength of the feather. Tying too close to the tip, they'll just break when you try and wrap them. And wrap the wraps side by side. Work your way down the hook.
I noticed that all the tying and materials all behind the bead.
Yeah, this whole fly is tied behind the bead. Some flies let you finish in front of it, but there's no real need. This works out just fine.
Step 5.
Now we're going to take and reverse wrap our ribbing, which definitely helps reinforce a pheasant tail body. Without ribbing is going to fall apart your first fish, or maybe before that. And again, leaving some space there.
Step 6.
Now we're going to go in and find some legs. A little bit more of the pheasant tail. Probably as many or not quite as many fibers as we used for the tail. And tie in a cluster on either side, probably just to end right about where the body ends.
So if you were to bend the tail in or the legs in, they would end where the body end.
Exactly, right up to the butt end of the tail or the end of the body. They can be a little bit shorter, but I wouldn't make them any longer. Definitely not any longer than that.
One on each side.
Step 7.
Now what we're going to do is take a couple peacock herl fibers. And you want to tie them in by the tips of the feathers. Snip off the tip and tie it in there. It's a little bit easier to work with, and the center portion of this herl isn't so stiff and has a lot more metallic fibers on it than the butt end of the feather. And wrap it with your thread, which helps reinforce the herl, otherwise it'll just break, much like the pheasant tail for the body. Few wraps. Maybe go right over it again. Doesn't hurt.
Step 8.
And whip finish it right up against the bead.
Still working behind the bead.
Yeah, that's where the fly ends, right there. And you probably want to glue this.
Did you glue the whole body?
No, just at the base of the bead, right where the thread is.
Uh-huh.
This is an excellent river and lake mayfly, and a little bit of weight from the bead or a little bit of sparkle doesn't hurt.